Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and I make videos about movies, TV shows, vintage shopping, living in Philly, whatever. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about House at the End of the Street. Not to be confused with The Last House on the Left. I've seen The Last House on the Left, both versions, and this is not that. So I just wanted to say that right off the bat. This is the movie with Jennifer Lawrence and Elisabeth Shue moving into this new neighborhood, you know, mother and daughter living alone, kind of out of the way in a pretty nice house, in a pretty nice neighborhood, being the new girl in school and whatnot, and learning about their next door neighbor who is a young man whose family was murdered by his sister, and how everybody gives him the side eye. You know, they wish that he would sell the house, that he would move away, kind of just like wish the problem would go away. Of course, you know, her mom is telling her, you know, stay away, make friends with the good kids in the crew neck shirts and the sweaters tied over their shoulders, you know. And she finds out that it's not all it's cracked up to be over there, and decides to sort of find out more about him. They spend some time together. She thinks he's different than other boys, and she's absolutely right. Her and her mother are kind of reaching a tipping point in their relationship. Her mother moved them all the way out there, out of the city, out from all of her friends, thinking that she was putting them in a better position, of course. And her daughter, Elissa, of course, is resentful of that. She don't care about that. And her trying to make friends, she kind of makes friends with the fringe crowd, sort of like the outcasts, and that includes the neighbor. So as the story moves on, we realize that Ryan's sister is alive and that he is keeping her in the basement for her own good, because when she is awake, she's very violent. That is very clear to the audience, and so he keeps her hidden away until he can find a good time to leave with her. Sister breaks out. She breaks out and then runs next door where Elissa and her mother live in an attempt to get her back into the house. There's an accident and she dies. And then Ryan goes about the process of getting rid of her body. Next thing you know, he's chatting up some cute co-ed at a diner, and bumpity bum bum, she's in the trunk. Takes her home and keeps her in the basement and refers her by his sister's name. And it appears to be that he's keeping her prisoner as a replacement for his sister, who has just died. Secrets abound in this movie. Where we start to lose grip is, how is this feasible? Between the time that his parents died, the time that he returned, there's like a huge blank space in there. There's nothing to show anything about his personal development or his character. So we do see him alone, but the only time that we see him is when he is doing a task related to keeping his sister a prisoner or keeping this girl a prisoner. We don't see what he does in his downtime besides researching the neighbor girl, Elissa. We only learn bits about his character through his interactions with Elissa. They kept his darker personality traits pretty well hidden up until close to the end of the movie. Elissa decides to keep her distance from him, and he decides that the only reason why she's keeping that distance is because of her mother, and that if he could somehow convince her to come with him. Elissa comes over to the house, puts A and B and C together in the clues that are conveniently left out, tries to do the old, oh, you know, sure, we can hang out anytime, you know, I'm just gonna go home and wait for my mom to get home, and, you know, ends up getting kidnapped herself. Meanwhile, Ryan just completely goes off the rails and just starts killing people without strategy. I'll say. It becomes more and more difficult to figure out what is really going on, what is his real motivation until the very, very, very end of the movie. We learn bits and pieces about his relationship with his sister and things that happened via gossip in the neighborhood. So the bits and pieces never really quite came together. The timeline was way off and not really very well organized. So you just see, Ryan and his sister as children, and then cut to him as an adult. Close to the end of the movie, you see flashbacks where after his sister's death, which I guess they didn't report because you can just not do that, he was forced to dress like his sister and to answer when he was addressed with her name because he was blamed for her death. It made the lie that he told about his sister much more complex. Because it's one thing to say that there was an accident and your sister experienced brain damage and became violent and all this stuff. And this is what he's telling Elissa. So none of it she'd be able to witness because his sister's supposed to be dead. She's supposed to be gone. Versus the truth, which is that there was an accident and his sister died on the spot. Those two things just kind of completely took me out, along with a lot of other plot holes and under character development. Elissa's character is fine. She's a teenager, so her not showing a particular interest in anything except for the guitar and this tense relationship with her mother, the way she interacts with her peers, that's fine. Her mom having this bolder personality and the way she introduces herself to the neighbors and the way she reaches out to people if she has questions about that weird neighbor boy that lives next door. I really appreciated about her character, but I appreciated that neither of them were rigid in their character. There was room for change if something crazy like this happened. I would say it's a pretty good thriller, suspense movie. It's One Missed Call. It's Disturbia. You get a few thrills and chills mixed in there, but there are some pretty large plot holes and a lack of character development that keeps me from really caring about anybody or being interested in what happens to anybody. I was everybody could get chopped and that is the end of the story. It's one thing if you want to claim that a sort of systematic abuse happened that shaped his personality, Ryan's personality, but we don't see that. We just get a few flashbacks. Parents are dead, so he gets shipped off to some relative that we never see, so we don't get an idea of their personality at all. Are they in a basement somewhere where somebody hasn't found them? We don't know. So we have no idea what his formative years were like. Is he just crazy that happened because of these traumatic things that happened when he was a kid? And the fact that he don't have no warrants. This is we're up here as far as the actions that he's taken. And the fact that there's no evidence or not enough evidence link events in his childhood together to say, you know what, actually, he is somebody we should be concerned about. How he could afford to keep that house with no job, and yet the parents were doing meth. That meth was the drug of choice. Well, I don't get that. If you had enough money to leave him after your passing and all of that, but y'all don't have enough money to maintain the facade, I guess, that y'all are doing meth in there, that just did not make no sense. Not that rich people can't do meth, but you gotta be kidding me if you expect for me to believe it. In the context of this story, where they live, their neighborhood, the setting, I would say it's worth a watch, especially if you like these kinds of thriller movies. I would give it a 2 out of 5. I would give it a 2 out of 5. There were just so many areas where we could have made this a little more striking, a little different, could develop certain ideas a bit more, that would have made it really impactful. Something that is not too disturbing, too gross, or too like engaging, but something that's a little scary. Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know if you've seen the movie, what you guys thought. And thank you so much for spending your time here with me. And I'll see you guys next time.